Simplicity Unfiltered. If you didn't tune in last week, we're not surprised because it's only the second time that we've done this. And if you watched that episode, you would talk about how you shouldn't really expect anybody to watch anything you've done until you've done it at least 60 to 100 times. So this is your first time here and you just happen to be catching us. This is Bringing Simplicity Unfiltered. I am Greta, founder of Bringing Simplicity, here with my co-host Judy, who is the CEO. And this is a time where we come to you completely unfiltered, unprepared. This is like real life, folks, like literally unfiltered. You would not typically see me in technically this is my kitchen with living room behind me. We are in the process of replacing all of our flooring upstairs, so I don't have a desk. My husband is currently making a sandwich near me. I am eating lunch because it is currently 1:20 and I have not consumed a single morsel of food. So welcome to Bringing Simplicity Unfiltered. Did I miss anything that was important details, Judy?
No, I think that's the whole point of this episode. No details. We just go and we just talk whatever comes out of our mouths. And yeah, so you guys get to see it.
I was going to say, and I actually do have a really good topic, and it's part of why today was so busy. We are not unlike our clients. We are scaling and growing. Up to this point, we've done pretty much everything ourselves. We are high achievers. We are perfectionists. We've worked for top companies. Judy can tell a little bit about her story, but I've worked with two companies specifically who we scaled together to 1 million. And prior to that, worked for high-ranking military officers and just in general have produced really high quality work. So delegating is probably more scary to me than it is to Judy. Today we're going to talk about delegating, but Judy, I don't know if you want to, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself or?
Yeah, I can tell a little bit about myself. So I have worked for multiple CEOs and companies scaling to 7 figures and beyond, even to 8 figures. One company I worked for, we scaled, we were doing 7.5 million when I came in and 14 million in 3 years. So you can imagine the things that have to take place when you're scaling a company that large. And you're doing all of the things, right? Operations, strategy. A lot of times for me, I'm doing the hiring, quality checking items. And really, when you're focused on the hiring, you're always focused on, hey, how can we improve systems and processes? How can we get the most out of our team that we are working with right now? And are the people going to be happy? Like I think the most important part for me that Greta and I talk about a lot is like, yes, they are happy right now, but are they going to be happy in 6 months? Are we going to be able to fuel that hunger? Because especially with Greta and I and the teams and companies that we work with, we're working in startups. We're working in very fast-paced companies. That company I just told you about, we hit the Inc. 5000 list twice during that 3-year period, and we want to make sure that people that we hire in are usually very hungry. They're coming in usually a little less for an opportunity that could lead to a very much bigger reward. So like we're selling that vision, right? A lot of my job as recruiting and hiring and sales is like selling that vision for the team before they come on and living up to that dream and that promise that we told them we would bring them along with. And that's usually tailoring to their hunger. And it could be money. It's different for every person. It could be money. It could be more of a, I don't like this word, but personal professional balance.
Could be learning new skills, because especially if you're in a startup, like we're okay if you don't know something completely proficient. Like we can learn it together to a certain degree. Yeah.
And mastering those skills for sure. And sometimes it's just being around the other people. Like I know for me, I've joined a lot of other companies and I've taken less pay so I could be around other people who are light years ahead of me and way more intelligent than me. So it could be like if they're not getting exposure to that one team or one person that they really want exposure to, then they're not going to want to stay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I think what's always super interesting is whatever we experience with our clients, we laugh a little bit because like we aren't as good at doing it for ourselves as we are for our clients. And that's because we do prioritize our clients' work. Like we put a lot of time, energy, and attention into our clients' work. And it can be hard to do the same for us. And we recognize that that's similar for our clients, right? That's why they hire us to do it for them, because they're busy doing it for their clients. It's this crazy thing. But if I've learned anything over the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks, because I feel like we have our own company that's scaling and growing. And then we have another company that we built to $1 million, and we're looking to do multi-million. And so that requires hiring and training as well, is that your team is only as successful as you are prepared and like able to be a leader of that team. And so I feel like this episode could talk a lot about like, how do we set teams up for success? And if I think about like, today was super busy because we were meeting with team members to set those expectations and those, you know, success metrics, because we are building the plane while it's flying, but there's a way to do that where you don't end up like crashed in the middle of a field. Like, you truly build it and fly and take off. So I would love for you to talk through, I'm always like game to be the person who gets judged. I'm like, I will be full transparency. There's a reason me and Judy work together. I'm not the best at managing teams. I have undiagnosed ADHD, so like my brain is always going a million miles a minute. I have to be very intentional about providing instructions and for setting expectations. So yeah, like what are some things, like what are some areas of opportunities you've either observed in me, or you could talk about clients and just use it like kind of more vaguely generally?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing, and sorry, can you hear my windows open? So I don't know if you can hear all of the noise and commotion that's going
I mean,
on.
I can't, but this is bringing simplicity
That's great.
unfiltered, where I'm going to
Okay.
consume salad while you talk to me.
Okay, great. Because it's getting closer and you might hear it soon.
Well, I do hear the fire trucks, yeah.
Okay, now it's like, yeah, getting.
Right now, Pixie's going to bark because she hears
Now
that.
fire trucks. They're not coming to your house. Don't worry. And so usually there's like 5 more that follow. That's just like a thing in Arizona. Like you see one, and there's like all of a sudden there's like a flock. Like it's like a freaking SWAT team. Like I'm not sure why that's necessary here, but it is. Okay, so delegation. And okay, before I dive into you yourself, and like I think that's a good point, is like knowing whether you are or you aren't a good delegator is one. And really like one, admitting to yourself that, hey, this is an area of opportunity that I have. And then deciding and doing and taking action on that. Hey, this cannot go on any longer if I truly want to help my clients, my business thrive and grow, right? So this one, you're gonna burn out, your team's gonna burn out. Hopefully nothing happens to where you can't, work anymore. But like if that were to happen, how I like to kind of focus it from a pain point of like, how devastating would it be for your clients, to then not have that support if we didn't delegate, right? Like the delegation is giving one opportunity for your team to level up without you in a skill that maybe were not aware of that they could do. You're having the opportunity to level up on your leadership and delegation skills, even if it's getting a little bit better. But also, when you delegate, it creates a better service product experience for your clients overall, which is what we all want as business owners, right?
And I want to emphasize to you guys too, like this muscle or whatever it is that you want to call it can be exercised before you start to delegate. And obviously I'm totally pro systems and those type of things. What I tended to do was to immediately think like, this is something I'll always own, so I don't have to document it as thoroughly as something I know I'm going to give up. Right? Mm-hmm. But the reality is you should just be documenting everything. Like basically Judy has just pushed me now to like have Loom on at all times, because like she said, worst case scenario, if I can't come to work because there's an emergency, at least we have a random Loom of me talking, and they are random.
And by the way, I have taken a Loom that Greta thought she was speaking on and creating an SOP on, and she was out of office. And I was just like, because I was just following the mouse, I was able to figure it out. And then like, I mean, I did it correctly, but
I have very expressive mouse movements, apparently.
yes, any documentation, even if it's not perfect, is better than no documentation. At least there's somewhere for that person to start. So yes, that's the thing is like, and from the book, the CEO from Within is the name of the book that we're reading. I've read like a couple times now. But it says like if you're doing it twice, you need to document, right? And Gary Vee says the same thing. Like don't document or don't create, document. Like if you're documenting and sharing it, it's there for other people.
In case you wanted to know, that is kind of funny because we tend to read the same books at the same time because we always reference books to each other then. And when I got to the point where it said, if you've done it twice, document, I took that line and I put like a because I knew that wasn't me. But I'm learning.
Yeah, but you're learning, right? And you're building these skills within your team, right? I think a lot of us also say the same thing to our team. And a lot of times our team doesn't have the same mindset, the same abundance mindset that we have of where like, oh, my role is like, there's always room for me to grow. My role's always going to be here. So a lot of times they hang on to information, not consciously, they're not doing it on purpose, but they're like, oh, if like they want to be needed. They need to be needed. A lot of our team members need to be needed, and that's their way of being like, oh, if I have that information, if I don't have an SOP, then they always like can count on me. Like they're always like they can always count on me to like help them and answer them. But when they see you doing it as a CEO and owner of your business, like you're documenting everything, you don't have fear of that. You have the abundance mindset that like, hey, this is something that we can do. You're going to groom more leaders or just higher performing teammates that have the same thing because they don't do what you say to do. They do what they see as an action that you're doing, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we've established that you should actually be flexing the delegation muscle before you're ever delegating because you should be capturing systems and processes. Mm-hmm. Now, for a lot of us, delegating is just uncomfortable. I have listened to Dan Martell's book now 3 times. It is so triggering to me. I also am fortunate that I have Judy to talk to. So if you're listening into this unfiltered and you're like, I just am not comfortable with delegating, like people don't do things the way that I would want them done. They don't do them like me. Yeah, no, they won't. Like, and listen to Dan Martell's book because he goes into this a lot more. I think for me, because I'm such an overachiever, when somebody delegates to me, they just have to tell me like a basic idea and then I'm going to like knock it out of the park. So my thought process was I'm going to basically say, I want a landing page for this opt-in and that's all I have to say. And they would knock it out of the park. Well, that's completely unrealistic because they don't have my years of experience. They don't have my brain. So unless I set expectations in a really clear-cut way, I'm not going to get what I want. So it's also me learning to tell people what I need, show them what I need, walk with them while they create it the first time, walk through my thought process, and then ultimately like second, third, fourth time, they're going to do it closer to how I want it done. And I like cite this to Judy all the time. She probably is like, why did I have her listen to this book? But Dan Martell talks about the 10-80-10. So basically you're going to spend 10% of your time telling people exactly what you want. Now you want to give people a little bit of creativity because like, at least for like the landing page aspect of it, sometimes they're going to create something that like, ooh, that's like way better than I thought it would be. So like, it's not like I'm a dictatorship, but I want to set expectations 10. I'm going to let them do 80% of the work. And then I'm going to come in for the last 10%, clean it up, provide feedback. And then ultimately that 10% gets faster and faster as we do projects together more. And maybe the rest of the world is listening to this, but I think I'm a pretty smart person. I've also worked with a lot of teams over the last 5 years. So it's crazy that I'm realizing just how crappy I am at this. And Judy would argue that I'm not actually that crappy, but
yeah,
it is still something I'm learning, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love that you reference that all the time because it reminds me that you're working on your delegation muscle and you're working out every day focused on building up that muscle. So no, absolutely right. And I would say the main thing for me, and anything that I do is the greatest way to be disappointed is to have expectations of things. And I'm not saying don't have high expectations. I like as a CEO, as a business owner, you can't help but have high expectations. But keep in mind that when you are starting to delegate for the first time, you're not going to be the best
Yeah,
delegator.
it's going to be you. You're the problem.
Yeah, you're not going to be the best one.
It's not the people you hired.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. The second thing is be prepared to give them feedback. Be prepared that it's not going to be a slam dunk when you give it to somebody the very first time. And think back to the very first time you were given something to do. You probably didn't execute. I mean, it may have been a really long time ago. I mean, obviously, we're all a little biased. So I'm like, I pretty much knock everything out of the park. Yeah. But there were certain times at the beginning. Oh, great. Now we're
I was
adding
going
in.
to say, it sounds like
What is going now? The news is involved. What is going on?
At first I thought it was
I
Koba.
don't like maybe I wasn't like rather there probably is a SWAT team going somewhere. Um
Oh my God.
oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, so they're not gonna knock it out. But of course I'm like, I can't remember last time. Maybe that was like 25 years ago that I knocked something out of the park. Was I like in elementary school? I don't know. But expect them to not knock it out of the park and expect them to learn and grow alongside you. And I mean, they're developing another muscle as well as like be transparent with your team of like, hey, like this isn't something I'm comfortable with doing. I haven't given this task or this product to anybody before. I've always owned it. So there's going to be some information that I may omit that I don't mean to. So if there's anything that you do, please ask me questions, give them the task, allow them to to ask questions. And I would say the main thing that I think is missing in delegation is giving like time frames on things. So, hey, Susie, here is a task that I want you to get done. I want you to do this landing page. Here's all the 5 SOPs that go along with creating a landing page and my expectations. Please read through it. It is due by this date, but please acknowledge and let me know, like read through all the SOPs by this date, right? And I always say to set them up of like, give them a due date before you actually expect it to be due.
Yeah, we usually build in like a 3 to 4 day buffer.
Yeah, so call it a buffer and say, hey, like let's say you really want it done Thursday, give them till end of day Tuesday so you have time to review, especially if you're needing to give it to be, needing to test it before it goes live and things like that. Add in those buffer times and expect them to be, I would say another thing is expect them to do it, take 3 times longer than you the very first time, minimally, to do the actual task that you do. And Dan Martell actually walks through this, right? Like he walks through like adding in your schedule, like how long you actually take to do the tasks before you actually hand them off to people.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you brought up giving feedback because I think that is something that's like missing so often. And we know because we work with a lot of VAs who work with a lot of other clients, and it can be super uncomfortable to tell people like, hey, that wasn't what I wanted, or hey, I needed you to do this like this. But you need to look at that as almost like a gift to them, because like how do you ever expect people to get better at what they're doing if they don't receive like true feedback? And so while it can be uncomfortable, the more that you can, remind yourself that this is just making them better overall, not just for you. Obviously, like do things in a kind and gracious way. Like you don't have to be a jerk about it.
Right.
But I think a lot of people are just quicker to be like, they're not going to get better, I'm going to fire them. And it's like, we've seen, there are some people who don't get better, of course, but we've seen that like, oh, I just did a really bad job communicating that, or like I wasn't clear on what my expectations were around that. So a lot of times it becomes an open dialogue of like how we can improve our process and our system as well.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't read like Crucial Conversations, I can't remember the author of that right now. But if you haven't read that book, it's a good one. If you're a leader, that's a good book to read, to have those conversations that might seem uncomfortable, like Greta said, to where, one, they might seem uncomfortable because you've never had that conversation before, so you haven't had the ability to flex that muscle. But if you come from a frame of nobody wants to do a bad job, like
Right.
nobody really wants to do a bad job and put out bad work. Like nobody wants to really do that. And like Greta said, you're having that conversation coming from a like kindness, and really like people can tell if you really want to help them and help them get better, of saying, hey, this is awesome how you did this. This is how here's some things that might help the next time you have this task to complete. Although this missed the mark this time around, I'm going to give you some pointers to help you do this, better and help improve for the next time. And then you just keep going after that. And I come from like, if you're working as a leader and not a manager, you're always going to come from that frame of, hey, everybody wants to improve, everybody wants to get better. But also, it's not like if this person decides to continue underperforming after multiple times of you giving feedback, and you like, it's not going to be because of me as a leader that I didn't help them improve. Like, it's not going to be because of me, it's going to be because of them. Like, obviously you want them to take full responsibility for that, and they will. And you'll oftentimes, if you're having conversations the right way, oftentimes people who aren't ready to be around high performers will honestly just quit after a few times. Like we've seen it time and time again. Like Greta and I, like we've had these conversations. Maybe they're a little more firm, like the fourth time if somebody has missed the mark, or made an error or made the same error. But like usually, like within a few days, they're quitting because they don't want to be around high performers. Like that's just like not like
Not their vibe.
Yeah, they won't stay.
Okay, the other piece that I love, and this was part of our day today, which is why I was like, oh, this is a good unfiltered, is it goes two ways, right? The feedback has to go two ways. So we're giving feedback to the individuals who are working with us, but we also welcome the feedback back to us. And not only do we hear it, but if it makes sense, we're going to implement it right away. So we have somebody who's been working with us for probably 2 months now.
Yeah, 3 probably. Yeah,
Maybe 3. She is an excellent team member. She is very communicative. She's receptive to feedback. She like consistently does really high quality work. Of course, there's been like small things that we realized throughout, which again, were 100% based on like me and how I delegated, or just our overall process. But that being said, we had a meeting with her today just to check in. How are things going? Are you enjoying the work you're doing? What feedback do you have for us that would like we should know to like change if it's like something you're not enjoying? And she honestly could have said anything. And we would have been receptive. She did have like 2 or 3 things that she recommended that would like streamline things for her job. And like, I'm like, awesome, look into it and like, let's do that. Like, I just want to make sure it's going to work. And I think it's hard to be like open and willing to hear feedback of like whatever that may be. But again, it's only going to make you a better leader. It's only going to improve your systems and processes, and it's only going to improve the way that you're providing tasking. And so in order to delegate and in order for delegation to be fun, you have to be willing to hear feedback, good and bad.
Yeah, for sure. And your company, your team, your success is only as good as your team success. So if your team isn't successful, then you're not going to be, right? Like Greta said, and honestly, we weren't always the best at this. So like we didn't always have meetings with our teammates. We didn't always do things the way that we do, but having those conversations with them goes a long way. So schedule it. Layla Hormozy, I think, does like her team feedbacks on Friday. Like her entire Friday is blocked to ask like how her team's doing. Like it's just like quick syncs of her reviewing their reports and getting back to them. And a lot of it is, hey, how can I help you improve your role? And that's really what our conversations are about. And have it over a video conversation, a voice conversation. If you can, definitely video. A lot of us work remotely, like obviously in person if you work in an office, but don't like have it through text message. Don't have it through like email. it removes that human touch from it, and you're just not going to grow as quickly as a leader, as a delegator, as a CEO, as a founder, whatever your role is in the company. And they're not going to grow as quickly either if you're having those like written messages. It just doesn't come across the same way. So I would say definitely add that in if you haven't done that, to do feedback as well, or record a loom. Like if you're doing quick feedback and you don't have the time that day and you really want to get back to them because you have a project due or upcoming, record a simple loom.
Yeah. So for today's unfiltered, I think the overarching message is you're not going to be able to grow and scale without growing and scaling your team. Like you need more people to be able to do more work. It would be very rare that that wouldn't be the case. And in order for that to happen, delegation is like, there's no getting around it. So if delegation feels uncomfortable, like you need to lean into that now. Do it in baby steps. Start with creating systems and processes and documenting things now. And then Judy, what do you think is the best way for them to start to practice the actual like communicating of that process?
Communicating that they're going to delegate to their team, or
Yeah, like
communicating.
so if it's your first time ever delegating to a team,
Mhm.
like how do you practice that ahead of time? Are you just doing it like live? Like now you've had the process, and so basically then you're just getting feedback from the process because
Mhm.
you've had it created and you're giving it to a team. Like what's the best way to like flex that muscle?
Yeah, the best way I would say is always record yourself, document. So first document whatever it is that you plan to pass off. Make sure it's something that can easily be checked, like it's not going to take you longer than like 20 minutes to confirm that it was done correctly. Um
So that's like
so
bite-sized pieces,
yeah,
basically.
so exactly. So document it, give it to one or two people. So if it can be given to two people, meaning like if you're creating a landing page, like obviously they usually can be given to two people because it's like the same system or whatever, like you're probably not going to. But if it's a task that you can give to two different people to then evaluate, that lets you know like, hey, how good is my SOP or documentation for them to do, and ask them to complete it. Ask them to provide any feedback of missing information, and then evaluate how well they performed, right? And then from there, you're then going to want to add in more. Either have them redo the same thing if like they didn't perform it very well, redo your documentation and do the same thing, or log it, or create a new task for them for you to
To
delegate.
try it again.
Yeah, to try again. But like Greta said, like make it super small. So it could be something as seamless as, hey, I really want you to start organizing my calendar, or hey, can you schedule this meeting? Like if it's like a simple admin thing, like hey, that client wanted to book a meeting, can you make sure to get that scheduled on our calendar? And those are simple things, but make sure that you record a loom after every task at the beginning. I would say definitely do that, um, so that way you know you can give them feedback, but also you're gonna get better when you're recording a loom. And you oftentimes, so when I'm recording a loom, I'm like, oh yeah, so I actually didn't give you this information, but great job that you figured it out by going here. Or hey, I didn't give you that information, but this is where you could find it for next time you do that. This is what I suggest that you do to improve and make better and make the process better. I'm looking for your guidance and support just as much as you're looking for mine, because a lot of times they think that because we're the CEO and the founder. Oh, Brenna, are you still here?
Yeah.
Hold on, I could not. I don't even know where you are anymore. There you are. It's a WhatsApp call.
Who's calling us?
It's a client, so hopefully they're not watching this. But anyway, I'll call him back. And so, okay, so yeah, pattern interrupt there. Apparently, that wasn't good information. The universe was like, cut it off, Judy, cut it off. but yeah, they think that we know everything. And a lot of times we're not the best at certain things. I'm certainly not the best at scheduling things anymore. Was I good at it 20 years ago? Yeah. Not so good at it anymore. And so yeah, I think that they think we know everything, and like, and just being transparent with them that like, hey, I'm not the best one at doing this. I'm expecting you to master this skill for us in our company so that way we can grow because of your skill set.
For sure.
Is how we're going to grow. Yeah.
Okay, and with that, Judy calls, so we're going to hang up because we have to handle client stuff. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.